The movie begins with an opening shot of a city night as a blue fireball drops from the sky in several places around the city. It illuminates the surroundings, spreading an iridescent light across the landscape and alerting the people from their bedrooms. A woman wakes from her sleep next to her boyfriend before she wanders up to the window to check what the light is. Waking her boyfriend, she realizes something is wrong when the building begins to shake like an earthquake. He quickly hops out of bed and goes to the window to check on the light. Before he can open the shade, he hears someone cry his name in the other room. He rushes to the living room to check on it when he looks into the light. It causes deep veins to break out over his face and body as he falls into a trance and approaches the light. Someone is calling his name, but he walks forward in a trance. Cutting back to 15 hours earlier, the same man and woman are sitting on a plane flirting. When they arrive in Los Angeles, they catch a fancy ride to a hotel and kickstart their new vacation. We are then introduced to Terry as they celebrate his birthday in his penthouse suite. The guy is obviously rich as he parties with dozens of hot women and sips on margaritas. He is also excited to see his two friends that have come to visit him, Jared and Elaine. That night, they party in the city before being introduced to some of Terry's friends. Apparently, Jared and Terry used to work together, but Terry wants Jared to move to California and start a new venture. But before he can tell Elaine about the offer, she tells him that she is pregnant. Unsure of how to react, the two of them argue over what the future holds until Elaine storms out of the room. While the party continues, a man named Oliver shows up and requests that they keep the noise down. The woman who answers brushes him away in a random scene that obviously shows he'll be an important character. While everyone sleeps, we are taken back to the original scene of the film. The blue lights have dropped from the sky and begin illuminating the city in a fiery glow of blue. People begin stepping out of their cars to see what the commotion is and are drawn toward the light like zombies. Jared and Elaine once again awaken from the disturbance, along with the rest of the guests that were partying at Terry's penthouse. One man in particular, a useless partygoer, wakes up on the floor of the penthouse. He opens the window shade to get a better look. When he is possessed by the blue light in the sky, he slowly approaches the light while possessed by its aura, until he suddenly vanishes to the shock of another guest. Jared then rushes out into the living room and once again is possessed by the light. He too slowly approaches the light until he is tackled away by his friend Terry. He begins to seize on the ground with horrible veins across his face and his eyes rolled back. It takes him a few moments to gather himself, but he comes back to life as Terry watches the blue lights fly back into the sky. As they question what Jared saw, he explains that he was being pulled toward the light. Before he can explain further, they hear a loud sound from outside. Terry peeks his eye out from the blinds and uses a low-powered telescope to observe two people on the roof of the next building. They decide to go check it out for some reason. Not really sure why that was the plan. But Terry grabs a gun and he heads out of the room with Jared, leaving the women behind. When they arrive on the roof, they look down and observe how calm the city is. Unfortunately, the door slams behind them and they get locked onto the roof. The women, on the other hand, start making phone calls, trying to reach their family. Unfortunately, they can't seem to get anyone on the line. Meanwhile, Jared and Terry note that there is a huge thundercloud that seems to be dropping more blue lights from the sky across the city. Just like before, they seem to be illuminating the sky and drawing people into them. Jared documents this with a camera and watches as this time, dozens of spacecrafts descend from the clouds. To their shock, hundreds of human bodies are being sucked into the spaceship in a classic abduction. When one of the ships starts moving toward them, they rush back to the roof door, narrowly avoiding a spacecraft from right behind them when Elaine opens the door for them. Unfortunately, she was infected by the same blue light and falls into a catatonic state back in the apartment, awakening only after a few moments of seizure. After she collects herself, they check the photos from Jared's phone where they see hundreds of people being collected by the spaceships. They comment that the blue light pulls you towards it, and the spacecrafts then collect the bodies of the humans that get too close. Suddenly, Terry randomly storms out of the room, in the middle of the alien invasion, while Jared notices that his body seems to be undergoing some sort of change due to exposure from the light. Across the hall, Terry knocks on the door of his neighbor named Walt. He manhandles the door open and creeps into the room looking for his friend. Finding him hiding beside the counter, a spaceship suddenly floats up next to the window. It observes the apartment as if it is looking for survivors, as Walt tries to calm his dog down to stay quiet. Unfortunately, a strange squid-like robot then hovers into the room. It illuminates the room with its blue lighting and scans for any signs of life while they hid behind a counter. Unfortunately, Walt runs out from behind the counter when his dog is frightened, where he is abducted by the aliens. Terry shoots at it, but flees in a panic. Arriving back at the apartment with the others, his bitter girlfriend notices on the camera that there are photos of Terry cheating on her. Discussing their next move, they aren't sure what to do or where to go. As they argue, the window blinds suddenly raise as we see dozens of massive ships sucking people into the sky in large tornadoes. Smaller ships then circle the buildings, spraying blue light into the rooms as they attempt to draw out any survivors. Without being seen, they close the blinds once more and narrowly avoid being spotted by a nearby ship. Deciding to get the hell out of there, they rush to the elevator and ride it to the parking garage. They split into separate vehicles, as Terry's girlfriend is still upset to find that he cheated on her. While leaving, they notice that other people are also packing their cars and trying to flee. As soon as the garage door opens, Terry's car is immediately stomped by a gigantic alien foot. He somehow survives the ordeal and rushes back to his friends while dodging and rolling to avoid the alien attack. Right before he manages to escape, the massive alien claw shoots a smaller tentacle from its palm and latches onto Terry. It sucks him backwards and absorbs him into its body, leaving the rest to flee back into the garage. Unsurprisingly, they are chased by the aliens as smaller vessels illuminate the room with the mesmerizing blue lights. A nearby man is then grabbed and sucked into the alien ship to the shock of his wife. They rush over to a locked door while the alien ship follows them, until the noise complaint guy bum rushes it with his truck out of nowhere. To their shock, the man who was abducted by the alien then slides out of the dead alien's body. Before he can get far, an alien tentacle reaches out and grabs him by the head. It latches onto his skull and literally yanks his brain out from his body. It then places the human brain into a small slot of the alien ship and uses it like a battery to recharge itself. Crapping their pants, they race outside onto the patio in fear, only to be attacked again by the giant elephant-sized alien they ran into before. After it snatches the random woman they were with, it continues to swipe at them with its tentacles, as a second one crawls from around the corner. At the last second before being killed, they rush inside with the newly added noise complaint guy. Bursting into a nearby apartment, they observe from a window the mayhem going on in the city as they gather themselves from the recent events. Jared especially is having a difficult time after watching Terry get abducted in front of him. They then barricade the door as noise complaint guy checks to see if everyone is all right. He recommends that they keep quiet and stay inside, waiting to see how things play out. Noise complaint guy suggests that they keep watch in pairs, so if anyone gets possessed by the blue light, they can pull the other away and save them. During the night watch, they question the motives of the aliens and where they came from. While chatting, they suddenly hear gunshots and explosions from outside the building. It appears that someone is fighting against the alien ship, shooting it with rockets and a machine gun from the back of a car. Unfortunately, they don't get to see how things play out as the car eventually drives away and more alien ships still hover in the distance. When they wake up the next morning, Elaine notices Jared acting strange as she points out that the blue light has affected their bodies. Jared points out that when he looked into the light, he felt a strange sense of power flow through him. Strangely enough, he still feels the power. Meanwhile, noise complaint guy listens in from the side. Jared then goes to the bathroom to take a shower, where he notices large marks have broken out across his chest from when he was struck by the blue light. Noise complaint guy then sits them all down and holds a meeting. Jared explains that he wants to flee the apartment building and find a boat, but nobody seems to be on board with his idea. As they discuss, they hear a noise outside as dozens of military jets fly in from the horizon. They majestically head towards the alien spacecrafts as it releases smaller ships like white blood cells that fly out to protect it. The army shoots multiple missiles at the larger alien ship as they watch one advanced military jet in particular dodge and weave its way through the battle toward the large mothership. Triumphant music plays in the background as it readies itself to shoot a large rocket and take it down for good. At the last second, it manages to shoot a missile at the mothership, causing a massive explosion to blow across the sky, covering the city in dust. It seems the missile was a nuclear bomb, and it managed to destroy the alien ship as it drops from the sky in flames. They all start hugging each other in joy, as Noise Complaint Guy triumphantly says that they will be able to defeat the aliens. But sadly, Jared notices through his telescope that hundreds of aliens escape the larger ship as it begins to repair itself at high speeds. Almost like time is being reversed, the pieces of the ship begin to put itself back together. With a brief moment of respite, Jared begins to grab survival gear to leave when they suddenly hear a helicopter land on the roof of the building. Military personnel exit the chopper, but Noise Complaint Guy warns them that they look to be armed for battle, not for rescue. When he presses Jared, veins spread across his body as Jared uses alien strength to pin Noise Complaint Guy against the wall and threaten him. Unfortunately, this scares Elaine as she backs away from Jared, siding with the room of total strangers she just met. Luckily, Jared calms her down with a few sweet nothings, and they rush to the roof of the building after grabbing a fire axe. When they get outside, they alert the army personnel only to have guns pointed at them in response. Meanwhile, Terry's ex-girlfriend becomes infected with the blue light after watching the alien ships from the window. She pulls the blind aside, and we see an alien vessel staring her right in the face. It snatches her right from the balcony and eats her like a hot dog until it blows up from a rocket shot by the army men on the roof. Back on the roof, Jared and Elaine are greeted by an incoming helicopter coming to save them. As it flies up to say hello, two tentacles shoot in from off-screen as it latches onto the side of the helicopter and yanks it into the side of the building. It falls to the ground and explodes, while Noise Complaint Guy looks on from the balcony in shock. Back on the roof, Terry and Elaine attempt to flee back down the stairwell. Unfortunately, they are spotted by an alien and chased across the rooftop in pursuit. When they flee to the metal scaffolding at the side of the roof, the alien injures Jared and electrocutes him in the leg. It then grabs him by the head and attempts to yank out his brain after hypnotizing him. Luckily, Elaine buries an axe into the back of the alien, killing it before it can get him. Meanwhile, Noise Complaint Guy decides to turn on the gas stove of the apartment. He knows that one of the giant aliens is coming for him, so he puts a cigarette in his mouth to wait for it. Unfortunately, in the lamest display of the film, his lighter doesn't spark, so the alien just reaches in and grabs him. He manages to flee for a bit, but eventually a huge spike reaches out and stabs him. With his last words, he says his farewell and sparks the lighter. It then blows the alien to pieces. Back on the roof, the alien ship suddenly lurches on top of Elaine in search of a new battery. Jared then grabs a cinder block and beats the alien to death as it writhes in blood as Jared pulls out its entrails. Definitely possibly turned on by this, Elaine takes Jared by the arm and leads him away until another huge alien climbs atop the roof. Thankfully, the military has begun to fight back in earnest and blasts the alien with rockets and gunfire. In the ongoing battle, one of the jets is then struck out of the sky as it crash lands on the rooftop and knocks the large alien from the scene. Unfortunately, Jared is injured in this explosion and is unable to move. A large alien ship then approaches the two of them, and a blue light shines down and abducts them both. They share a kiss in the sky as they are pulled into the alien ship. Once aboard, a pile of human bodies lay sprawled out across the floor, covered in grime. Tentacles reach down from the ceiling to grab people by the head, where their brains are extracted and inserted into robots. These are then used to power the alien ships and continue the invasion. Jared is then grabbed by a tentacle, where his brain is sucked out and his body is tossed aside. Elaine is then grabbed as well until they notice she is pregnant. She is transported to a separate room, while Jared's brain emits a strange pink light after being extracted. When placed into a machine, the alien then pulsates on the ground, as if in pain. Meanwhile, Elaine is brought to a separate room where we see the aliens extracting babies from pregnant women. Before she can have her baby stolen, the Jared alien rushes in and saves her from the abduction. It beats down the other aliens and signals to Elaine that it is him through a tender moment. The movie then pans out as we see several still images of Jared fighting off the other aliens. Thanks for watching the video. Please like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out when you do that. And of course, check out the other videos if you like watching recaps.